Life can be messy, but you don't have to figure it out alone.
Hey, it's the Luskos.
Join pastors and best-selling authors Levi and Jenny Lusko on Hey, It's the Luskos for honest conversations about faith, marriage, family, grief, ministry, and all the unexpected moments in between. You'll laugh, you'll be encouraged, and you'll be reminded that God is faithful through every season.
It will always come back to Jesus in the end.
That's right. Tune in to Hey, It's the Luskos with Levi and Jenny Lusko. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
One of these men is a highly respected New York attorney, Lucas A. Ferrara. The other is a self-proclaimed man of the people, known as Mert Roberts. Their aim is to discuss the hottest issues impacting our city, state, and nation. Fasten your seatbelts. Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live, starts now on AM 970. The Answer.
I love that beat. What is the name of that song, Alex?
Oh, that's a good way to kick it off. Sport by Subclair.
Sport. Love it. Let's chat a bit about something that landed in the middle of the WNBA season like a brick through a window. Now, Mert, two former NBA players, Enes Kanter Friedman, I'll say his name right one of these days, and Royce White, recently announced that they intend to declare for the 2027 WNBA draft. Now, how great is that? There's one little problem. Enes and Royce are men, and I thought the WNBA is a league for women. What am I missing? Look, in any event, the League's Players Association answered with a line that already has been quoted everywhere. It's something along the lines that they will not be used as political pawns. Well, who made them political pawns? They made themselves these political pawns, Mert. In any event, this is not abstract. It's happening now, August of 2026, so let's talk about it. You okay with men playing in women's sports, Mert? Let's get right to the bottom line.
Well, I'm going to say this. Whoever is beating on the desk, I'm assuming
that's me.
You must be really fired up.
I am agitated. I am fired up. You can hear that banging?
And you should be fired up because this is a perversion.
It is perversion. It really is.
Of trying to fight for civil rights on both sides. This isn't one side is the victim, the other is not. No, everybody involved in this debate is being perverse because we're trying to force women who may not want to compete against a male to take a stance where maybe they don't feel comfortable letting the world know that they're against this. Maybe they want to be, maybe they want to keep their reputation intact. But because they're being forced to take a stance on this, you have women who would, in no other circumstance, be viewed as a political minded person. They would be just, oh, that's a nice basketball player. There's a basketball player, Sophie Cunningham. This is an issue she's come out on.
Right,
against
very strong. Very strong.
Very strongly.
You have to respect it. You have to respect it. And it's really simple. Here's a quote. I'm glad you mentioned her because in an ESPN profile, this is what she said. This is a quote. She wants to protect young girls, quote, in a locker room or young girls in sport who shouldn't have to go against biological men. She later said, quote, I said what I said, and I think it's kind of common sense. I think it's really important to protect children. Now, Mert, look, studio audience is in agreement. I mean, what is wrong?
A standing ovation for Sophie Cunningham right there.
Yeah, there you go, Mert. And Mert instigated that. What's wrong with that, Mert?
Well, listen, I'm not saying it's anything wrong with what she's doing. I'm saying it's wrong that the LGB community, I don't know all the other letters, so I'm just go LGB. Those are the ones I know.
LGBTQ plus IA, yeah.
Right. I don't know all of them.
It's not just the
well, hold
the
on a second. Let me finish what I was saying.
Yeah.
It's that community and the people who want to support that community who may be going out on a limb for something that they don't really feel strongly about, but they're trying to push it just for progress' sake. They don't really have a good reason
Give
for
me
it.
A break. Really?
They don't really have a good
Progress?
reason. Listen to what I'm saying. They don't really have a good reason. And then you have the Enes Kanter. He's being perverse because he's taking this as an opportunity to gain a following. He's trying to gain a following. He's trying to get big. He's trying to get another, probably a reality show or a TV show,
Bless him. Maybe he wants to run for political office, right? I thought he wants to run for political office.
So this is serious business here, and everybody's being perverse with this serious issue because one day one of these sides is going to win. And maybe if the LGBT community wins and then you have a Enes Kanter playing in the WNBA and then he elbows a woman in the face and she has to end the season and she can no longer compete, that will be a storm of the ages, and people will come out, and then you will see a backlash on the LGBT.
Accidents happen all the time, as long as it's not deliberate.
A woman-to-woman accident is different than a male.
Actually, I don't think there will be backlash. You know why? Because the left just wants this. They want this kind of chaos. They want a male to perform in women's sports, and I don't understand why.
Well, listen, everybody wants chaos.
Isn't the problem simpler, Mert, than just the LGBTQIA plus community? Why can't the league define what a woman is? Would you believe that I took a look at the Article 8 of the NBA's collective bargaining agreement, and this is what it says. Ready? Quote, only players who are women are eligible to play in the WNBA period. Well, thank you very much. Guess what, Mert? Guess what, Mert? It doesn't define woman.
Well, you know
so
what?
Isn't the problem we can't even get to the basics of what a man or a woman is, that we can't even agree on a definition of something as basic as that?
Well, so
that's the problem, isn't it?
The things that makes this conversation a little bit more difficult is you have people who don't have a real interest in sports, who don't understand all the nuances of physical competition because they just don't care. So what you have is them trying to do what's right in theory versus what makes practical sense when it comes to sports. And you don't have enough people in sports speaking loudly enough against it. You have a few who come out and that's why they gain a lot of notoriety or a lot of popularity,
like Riley Gaines.
There's very few who actually come out against this conversation, because if you think about it, the men would welcome a trans man into the NBA, because how many women can actually compete in the NBA? You don't see it.
That's going to be one tough trans person, that's for sure.
Right. So the problem becomes where women are more likely to be forgiving and accepting, because in the WNBA you have a large population of women who appear to be men. They take on that persona. They call them studs. You have a lot of those in the WNBA. So it's almost a weird position. It's almost a perfect place for perversion to take place when the LGBT community...
Only because the definitions are vague. Let me just read this for our listeners, okay? I took a look at the collective bargaining agreement. It does not define women, as I said. It does not contain a detailed policy on transgender eligibility. It does not. It does not have hormone requirements. It does not have self-identification standards the way that some other sports have. And that absence, that ambiguity, Mert, is the problem. And that's what Freedom and White and others are testing. These loopholes should not exist. It's really simple. If you have male genitalia, if you have male genetics, if you have male physiology, if you were born, with certain characteristics, hormonal or otherwise. I'm not a scientist, but these things are easy to quantify and identify. Then you cannot play women's sports, right? Because your muscles have already been determined, and your skeletal functions. You already have an advantage, an unfair advantage.
Well, the issue that, kind of eliminates this is when these leagues draft the players. If you're a very talented male basketball player, you declare for the male draft. You usually wouldn't declare for the female draft because you've already declared for the male draft. Well, in this day and age where we're starting to try to manipulate for attention and all this popularity and fame that people look for,
to show the hypocrisy and the stupidity. Yes, I agree.
I think it's for other reasons. But I'll say this. The men who are going to try to push the envelope and join the WNBA, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Because when you fall flat on your face and they don't allow it to take place, because they're going to figure out a way to make this obsolete. They're going to figure out a way around this. And they're going to figure out a way where they don't have to offend the LGBT community. They're going to find a way. You're going to fall on your face, and then you're going to have to come up with another way, Enes Kanter, to try to get some attention. Because the little attention you got now is not going to be there because you're going to fail.
I'm just loving what these guys are doing.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
This is a statement. Let me just read. I think I wanted people to hear what Royce White had to say when he declared. Ready? Here's his quote. Royce White. I'm transgender. I am woman. I identify as sometimes identifying as a woman for purposes of basketball, professional basketball. So I'm declaring for the WNBA draft in 2027 as well. And then he thought he would be unstoppable. This is how he described himself. He said he will do whatever the girls need me to do. And he challenged the league to define the parameters clearly. He said, ready? I'd like to know what the parameters are. What exactly are the specifics? What criteria do I need to meet? This is what he said, Merton, not my words, his. Is it just a week? Do I have to cut off my beard? White said that if he's not drafted, by the way, and this is my favorite part, he's going to pursue a discrimination lawsuit, and he said we're going to have a huge legal battle at hand, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be so much fun. What do you think? What do you think, Alex?
All right. I mean, I know Mert want to weigh in, but real quick, I've seen girls practice their way 2-a-days in college, and for a guy to be able to, let alone these stunts that I'm seeing, for a guy to be able to go in there and sort of ruin the flow, the routine, the hard work that these women are doing, it bothers me. Okay, as a sports aficionado, it bothers me to see that there's even this opportunity, because women work there, you know what's up, every day working at these sports, and they don't deserve a male to go in there because they think they can't make it in the NBA anymore or whatever it seems to be here. So I am very frustrated by this. I'm frustrated that people are going along with this idea and the WNBA. And one last thing, you talk about falling on your face, Mert. I mean, there's not been a lot of outrage that Caitlin Clark gets pushed to the ground all the time, it seems like. But if Enes Kanter gets pushed to the ground, are they going to throw a fit if he gets pushed? You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a weird double standard.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. By the way, the Women's National Basketball Players Association issued a dopey statement. And, Mert, I want your reaction to it, okay? They talk about inclusion and the importance of inclusion, yada, yada, yada. Then they say hate, abuse, and demonization of any person or group of people, including transgender people, only fuel fear, division, and harm. We will continue to have hard conversations, but we will not be used as political pawns. Political pawns, Mert. Such nonsense. I find that offensive. They interjected themselves into this controversy, and now they object to being pawns. Well, excuse me. Extricate yourself and define what a woman is. Easy peasy. Amen. Come on, Mert.
Well, listen. You're all fired up. And, at first I was like, good for, Enes Kanter and all them for doing what they do. Then I realized what happened to men being men and standing up.
Well, thank you. Thank you. There's no such thing anymore.
What happened to men taking a stance and doing the right thing versus trying to look for likes and, clicks and views and all this stuff? Because as good as you may feel about this, Lucas, because you sound very excited. You sound like a kid on Christmas Day thinking about this whole fiasco.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my present. Where's Santa? Yes.
As good as it may feel in the moment, when you take a step back and you realize that people's feelings and how they identify themselves are being toyed with for engagement farming and for the benefit of someone's personal popularity, it makes me question, how far are we going to go in this world until it is okay for a regular man just to go compete against the women, because everybody wants to make a stance and, we're all trying to prove points. You're going to get to the point where women are going to start falling for this stuff and say, you know what, let's just play against the men. Let's just do it. And some woman is going to say, bring it on.
Well, Billie Jean King did against, who was it? Connors back in the 70s. I mean, there was that man versus woman tennis match back in the day.
Right, because I fear the long term.
The whole point of these Title IX projections and all these federal laws were to protect women's sports, to separate women's sports. And that separation has now gotten real
lot of
murky
sense.
For stupid reasons. It's gotten real murky.
That makes a lot of sense, but I look into the future and I see this could flip where women fall for it and they start to do themselves in even more. Now we accept transgender, but now we're going to accept men. There should be no divisions. Everybody's equal because we're already going that way with technology. Everything's so streamlined and with AI and everything. Like, you cannot tell who's really productive and who's not because you could be going up against somebody who's using AI software. So I see a day where they're going to try to figure out the chemical reactions, and they're going to say, as long as your chemicals are in line, whether you're a man or a woman, biologically you can compete.
Well, by certain ages, though, unfortunately, according to what I'm reading, Merton, I'm not a scientist, these cutoffs, these scientific, biological cutoffs have to occur within, at age 13, really young. So it's not so easy. It's not so easy to meet these parameters, these scientific parameters that sort of even the playing field.
But think about if you start transgender kids off at a certain age where they can cut it off before.
Yeah, but it's in
those
early
hormones
teens.
We talked about this maybe a year or two ago.
It's
talked
early
about
teens. It shouldn't be necessary. The whole point is we have men's sports, we have women's sports, and if you want to create a third category, a transgender category where they can compete, that's fine too.
That's the best option, I think.
I think that is the fairest option, okay? But to sort of morph it all into one thing, it defeats what Title IX was about, which was to create and protect opportunities for women and girls. If we're not going to protect women and girls, then let's get rid of the protections and let's not have any. I mean, it's absurd. I know it's absurd, but look how far we've gotten. Look, Cantor, Friedman, he says he's not mocking anyone. He's asking for the rules to be applied equally. Royce White said he identified as a woman for purposes of basketball.
They're all mocking. They're both mocking.
Sophie
That's
Cunningham
nonsense.
said young girls should have not have to compete against men. Called it common sense. Look. These are the positions as of late August. The draft is next spring. The conversations promised are underway. The category either needs a clear boundary rooted in sex, Mert, or it does not. The developments have made that choice unavoidable, in my opinion. You know what else is unavoidable? How about this? You're listening to 111, episode 111 of Shake It Off with Merton Lucas Live. Thank you, studio audience. We're truly honored to have you along with us for the ride. This is Lucas Ferrara. We're ever mindful that without you, we are absolutely nothing. So we're truly grateful for your support. We've got some great guests in store for you today. But before we unleash them, let me introduce some of the players here at Shake It Off Live. You already heard from my great co-host. Absolutely no one in this universe messes with this man. Of course, I'm talking about the one, the only man of the people, the guy. Many of us at AM 970 affectionately call, and it's now officially trademarked, the Mertonator, Mert Roberts. Engineering and producing the show, none other than the great Alex Garrett. He's got a 5-star rated podcast called One Leg Up with Alex Garrett. How's it doing, Alex? You breaking all records?
I'm trying here. We're almost at 65,000. I want to make one correction. It was Bobby Riggs that played Billie Jean King, and Billie Jean King won the Battle of the Sexes in the Astrodome in the 70s. There's that.
Well, thank you for that correction. And now our special guest in just a little bit. You'll be hearing from Major Mike LeBlanc. He's a decorated Marine Corps officer, Harvard Business School graduate. He's out with a book, What If Anger Is the Answer? A Harvard Marine's Guide to Shaping Aggression. And then in hour 2, we sit down with Christian Briggs. He's an economist and CEO of Hard Asset Management, a specialist in rare coins and precious metals. And he's going to talk about investing in a time of inflationary spirals. It's going to be interesting. So stick around. Don't blink. Shake it off with Mert Alex and all of us here at AM 970. Returns right after these messages. And on the other side, LeBlanc joins us. So if you ever wondered whether anger might actually be part of the answer, or how to train the lion in the soul instead of trying to kill it, stick around.
Get down. West side girls, get down. East side girls, get down.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 55 East 59th Street, New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
Identity theft can cost more than you think. Drained investment accounts, stolen tax returns, lost wages, expenses for lawyers. It's a lot. That's why LifeLock is backed by the $1 Million Protection Package, which covers up to $1 million for stolen funds, fees, and experts and lawyers, and out-of-pocket expenses. Don't face the burden of identity theft alone. Protect your future and finances with LifeLock. Join now. Save up to 30% off your first year with promo code BECK at LifeLock.com. 1-800-LifeLock, promo code BECK. LifeLock.com. Terms to apply.
Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. You push yourself in everything you do, scanning headlines for insights, keeping an eye on the market. Robinhood puts you in control of your money, all on one platform. You expect more from yourself. Expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move.
Right now, families in Colombia desperately need our help. A devastating 7.4 magnitude earthquake has killed hundreds, left hundreds more missing, destroyed thousands of homes, and affected more than 135,000 people. Families cannot wait. They need help now. Food for the Poor is already responding with trusted partners inside Colombia, helping purchase emergency food and critical supplies and get them to families in need. But we need your help. Just $30 can provide enough food to help feed a family of 4 for an entire week. Please don't wait. The need in Colombia is urgent. Give now and help Food for the Poor provide emergency relief to families affected by this devastating earthquake. Call 855-919-4673 or simply text PISCAPO to 51555 to give. Call 855-919-4673. Colombia needs us now. Please give today.
Only on Salem Now, featuring one of Charlie Kirk's final interviews. The new documentary, Can You Hear Me Now?, examines modern prophets and divine messages shaping our political and cultural destiny.
I would have dreams and then they would come to pass.
Some people absolutely have the gift of prophecy. If God exists, how would he inject his information into our world? More than likely, he would use humans.
Jesus appeared in the dream, and I heard a voice, and it began to speak to me.
Director Matthew Thayer weighs today's prominent prophetic voices against scripture, history, political, and scientific scrutiny.
It is the word of God that needs to be the bedrock of any functioning and flourishing civilization.
Why would God have me be one of the last people to interview Charlie before he died?
Satan would love Christians to just be a spectator, not engage, not participate.
Is there something he's trying to say?
Can You Hear Me Now? Pre-order the movie by September 10th. Save 25% and get the DVD free at salemnow.com. salemnow.com.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Abdul El-Sayed is Hassan Piker, and Hassan Piker is Abdul El-Sayed. That's the bottom line for Michigan voters considering the race for the open Senate seat in the upcoming election. El-Sayed is the Democratic nominee. Piker is the progressive, regressive, transgressive Twitch streamer, vulgar, hate-filled racist streamer, an online ranter who hates blacks, whites, women with seemingly equal passion. He thinks the United States deserved 9/11. None of this is a hidden secret. El-Sayed attached himself to Piker's hip in order to win the Michigan Democratic primary. If El-Sayed somehow fools the Michigan electorate into sending him to D.C. in November, Piker will push aside Bernie Sanders and AOC as the key kingmaker in the Democratic Party. El-Sayed is going to be facing GOP nominee Mike Rogers, a 7-term congressman from Michigan. Working in Rogers' favor, Michigan doesn't want to become known for the craziest hater in the Senate since the Civil War. I'm Hugh Hewitt.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
What is the name of that one, my friend?
All right, this is called Must Be Angry by Masili.
Well, we had this music reserved for our next guest, Major Mike LeBlanc. Have we been able to reach him?
I am trying for him as we speak. Live radio at its finest right here.
Oh, my goodness. We can't reach our guest, Mert. What do you think? This is not good.
Well, you know, it's neither good or bad. It just makes sure... It just means we have to make sure that we're prepared for anything and everything. So I am prepared for the guest to show up late or for him not to show up at all.
Well,
we can continue talking about what we talked about, but I'm sure you have stuff that we can continue with because in the past you let me know you're prepared for such moment.
Yeah, I guess we can continue talking about, the women's National Basketball Association. I don't know. What would you like to talk about, though? Because I think we covered that topic pretty well, don't you think?
Well, you know what? I'd talk about how in this country, and I spoke about it while we were talking about our last topic, how in this country, the drive and the need to be validated by attention is starting to influence our decisions on a higher and higher level. You know, it's something that makes me uncomfortable because I see the truth is not necessarily important. The truth is not necessarily what we seek. What we seek is validation. And that's scary because one day a transgender, playing female sports could be validated by society. And then the next day, a man hitting a woman might become validated because one day it might be determined that women are no different than men. So now it's open season for men to start treating women like men. Playing around with the truth is something that deeply troubles me. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. And like our guest was supposed to talk about, maybe this is something that gets me angry enough and fuels me to try to do something about it, because I believe there are people out there who should be angry about how we're starting to treat the truth like it's an opinion.
There is no such thing as truth, I think, is really what the problem is anymore, Mert.
And you know what? That's a good point you just brought out, because if your feelings are more important than what somebody is saying to be the truth, then you could have that mindset. Sorry, I might have cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, you didn't cut me off at all. It's the fact that things have gotten so gray, and that this week's truth is tomorrow's lie. There's no such thing as truth, in fact. That's the problem.
You know what? Dr. Monica Vermani talked about this last week, about people fall into the pressure of what other people tell them they should do or how other people feel about them. She was speaking about this last week and how we're supposed to, seek out our own validation, validate ourselves, stop being a prisoner to how other people view us and how other people think. And I think with a lot of this stuff, we're doing the opposite of what Dr. Monica Romani's advice is. We are validating nonsense. Listen, I'm just going to say this and people might get offended. Women cannot compete with men in sports that are dictated by pure physicality. It's not going to happen. And any woman out there who can't come to terms with that, so be it. Prove me wrong. Get into the boxing ring with Mike Tyson and last 10 to 12 rounds with Mike Tyson and tell me, you know what, women can compete, because I'd believe you then. But I don't care how much the woman weighs, how much she's trained, where she comes from, what her special diet is, she'll never be able to do it. But it's the truth that we have to, it's just so annoying to me. And I wish we could find our guests, because maybe I could ask the guests, is it okay that I get angry about this? Because I like to keep my cool. Mert doesn't like to blow up and lose his cool. But maybe I should.
I don't know. I think let's. Do you know what's something that I did want to talk about since we have some time to kill? We were having difficulty. For those of you who are listening live, unfortunately, our next guest, Mike LeBlanc, we're having some technical difficulties reaching him. He's got a great book out. It's called What If Anger Is the Answer? A Harvard Marine's Guide to Shaping Aggression. And unfortunately, we are having technical difficulty reaching him this evening. So as you can tell, we're struggling just a little bit. But I wish he was able to join us, because it would have been an interesting conversation. But let me ask you about something that really troubles me. I went to buy a bagel this morning, right? And the bagel was about like $2.50, which by the way is not cheap, but it's a bagel. So I go to buy the bagel. The woman flips over the screen, and then on the screen she's asking for a tip. Now, it's a $2.50 bagel, and I'm supposed to pay a tip on top of a bagel. What do you think? What is happening to this whole tipping culture that our world, even when you go to a counter, it used to be that if you went to a deli and you just picked up a soda or whatever, there were no tips expected. If you picked up a sandwich, there was no tip expected. But now, if you go to pick up a bubble gum, they flip over the machine, and the machine is asking you for 10, 20, 30% tip. Do you not think that that's absurd?
Well, it's absurd.
If you want to talk about anger,
and you should be upset, because it goes back to this whole theme I'm on of the truth. Listen, if you were to pay these individuals enough, that tip suggestion wouldn't even enter into the equation, because I think that a lot of these people are underpaid, and these companies have gotten smart, and they're passing the blame on to the consumer. They're saying, hey, this person only makes $3 an hour. You're not going to tip them to help them out? You're not going to do your civic duty as a human being, as a fellow American? Lucas, you should tip this person because they're not making enough. How dare you buy that bagel?
Yeah, but at what point does that... see, but it's not my... See, it's not my employee, right? If I go to your store, you take care of salaries, you take care of costs and price setting. I'm there to purchase an item and leave. Now, if you're going to impose on me the extra obligation to pay for a bagel, now I can understand if it's a full-service restaurant or if I'm paying for some sort of service, that's one thing. But all I'm asking for is a bagel. I'm supposed to tip on top of that? I don't know.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Listen, I'm against it. That's why when I go to McDonald's or any one of these fast food places and they got the little donate to the to whatever cause, I say, why don't y'all just take that out of what I'm paying? Why are y'all letting me know? Why don't y'all just donate it out of what y'all making? Why do I have to give extra when I'm giving you money for the burger? Why don't you deduct from your profits and contribute to this society? So or this organization. So I feel.
Well, to be continued after this break. Unfortunately, our guest is stuck on a flight. We just received a text message that Major Michael LeBlanc will be unable to join us this evening because he's stuck. God bless the airlines. But when we come back, we'll continue our random conversation about whatever hits us. Be ready. More for Shake It Off Live with Mert and Lucas right after these messages.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 55 East 59th Street, New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
Foundations of Freedom, a look at America's founding principles and the leaders who shaped our nation.
When George Washington accepted command of the Continental Army, Americans were fighting a king and determined not to replace one form of unchecked power with another. Washington understood the difference between authority and ownership. In 1775, he declared, "When we assumed the soldier, we did not lay aside the citizen." Even as commander of America's army, Washington remembered that he remained one of the people and that the power entrusted to him was never his to keep. He did not fight to rule America. He fought so Americans could govern themselves. Washington's example gave the young nation something more than victory. It gave America a standard for leadership. Those who hold power must remain accountable to the people they serve, because in a free nation, leadership is not ownership. It is a duty and a trust.
We can tell you about the incredible success we bring to local businesses, but it's better when it comes directly from our satisfied clients. Here's just one example.
After searching for a new vendor to handle my search marketing campaign, I contacted Salem Surround after seeing the great work they did for another restoration company in the different market. Their team of experts recommended a mix of multiple tactics designed to get my business the most quality leads at the lowest cost, making my marketing budget stretch further. In our first year partnering with Salem Surround, we recorded our best year to date, and I've told many people how blessed I was to find them. The representative answered the phone every time I called and quickly addressed any questions or concerns I had.
Let Salem Surround give you an absolutely free audit of your current marketing and show you what your competition is doing. Then, we come up with a personalized plan that's perfect for your needs. Google Salem Surround New York and let our marketing experts help you achieve real success. Remember to Google Salem Surround New York today.
In this 25th anniversary of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation continues to honor America's heroes. The foundation created veterans' villages that stand as a beacon of hope for those who have sacrificed everything for our nation. These communities are committed to helping veterans achieve stability and independence by providing safe housing and personalized services tailored to their needs. Residents find support, dignity, and a sense of belonging among others who truly understand the meaning of service and sacrifice. Tunnel to Towers and its supporters believe no veteran should ever be left behind. Through the Homeless Veteran Program, Veterans Villages, and the National Case Management Network, the foundation has provided housing and supported services to more than 17,000 veterans nationwide. Donate $11 monthly and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Head to T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
Welcome back, my friends. So our originally scheduled guest, Major Mike LeBlanc, who is the author of a book, What If Anger is the Answer? A Harvard Marine's Guide to Shaping Aggression, was unable to join us as scheduled this evening. We're a live show, and apparently he is stuck on an airplane. So sorry, Major, that you couldn't join us. But in his absence, we started a conversation about tipping, and I was expressing my angst, my anger, my disappointment at having to tip for a simple bagel. I mean, I go to a counter and I'm flipping over, and she flips over the screens, asks me for a tip. But here's a story I wanted to get your reaction on. Ready, Alex? Ready, Mert? So just a few months ago, there was a story about a couple who went to a local Italian restaurant. Now, I don't know if you've heard this story, but the couple went for some pasta, okay? And they also apparently went for some public humiliation, because after some service mishaps, there was like a botched order, the waitress disappeared for a period of time, Mert. The couple decided to leave a 10% tip. Now, the waitress, after checking out what was left for her, looked at the bill, looked at the check, and she went, "Seriously? This is it?" And she followed up with a remark, something along the lines, "Cheapskates." Now, the couple was stunned. They took back, the tip money and walked out. They took the tip back. Now, do you think that reaction, that exchange was appropriate? I think there were like layers upon layers of problems there. But what was your gut reaction? Should she have called the customers cheapskates? I think that even if she's right, 10% may have not been appropriate in her opinion, right? But the couple felt she disappeared. She dropped the order. She wasn't paying attention. Who's right? Who's wrong here, Mert? What's your sense?
Well,
of that?
listen. I'm going to say they're both right, because I want a solution. I want to find a solution. I'm tired of talking about right and wrong, and I want a solution. Okay, let's start doing this. Let's put a camera at every table in the restaurant, and let's look at let's review it so that we can have an unbiased representation of what exactly took place. Now, that means you're not going to be able to have certain conversations because you're being recorded. But that also means that the server who is being tipped less than what they think they deserve will have evidence. Hey, you didn't bring back the food on time. You disappeared. They waited 10 minutes for their drinks or whatever, their appetizers, when you're only supposed to wait 5 at the maximum. Why do you think you deserve even 10%? You probably don't even deserve a tip. So if we can figure out a way, I don't know if people would agree to it, but I think that in this case, both people are correct, because who's telling this waitress what it actually means to demand or to be justified in receiving a tip? 15%, that's the justified rate, is 15%. What is it now? Is it 15, 20%? What is the rate that you're
It depends where you go, because down in Miami, I'm seeing 20, 25, 30%.
You might as well
it depends where you go. I think
Right.
standard-wise, nationally, 15 to 20%. But this used to, it was never, in my opinion, Mert, and Alex, I'd like to hear your point about this too. It was never a mandatory thing. It was always supposed to be a thank you. It was supposed to be an extra. It wasn't supposed to be, expected. But that's shifted over the years. Don't you agree?
Listen, people have gotten intelligent. The people are intelligent. Even the person flipping burgers can have a PhD in something, because that's just how smart we are with these phones and all the information we get on a daily basis. So it's very difficult to tell somebody, even if they are a mere waitress or waiter, that they aren't deserving of a tip that is deemed worthy. It is very difficult to tell somebody that thinks, hey, I'm better than this job. This job is temporary. Think about it. How many people actually take pride in being a waitress or a waiter? They don't. So telling them that they don't deserve something while they are in fact belittling themselves in a lot of these people's minds for doing this job, that is a very difficult thing. That's why we got to take this out of the hands of the individual, and we got to start placing this into
You know
the
what I
eyes
love?
of
You know what I
technology.
love?
Well, it's funny you say that because I noticed that on the bill it's like, well, here's your preferred tip, 15%, 20%.
Right. You know what? I love places like Japan where tipping is not permitted. In fact, if you try to tip in Japan, it's almost viewed as an insult. In other words, people get paid their wage, they provide you a service, and they're not expecting a tip. And that makes everything so easy. Now, today in America, the tipping culture, I think, has gotten out of whack. I'm seeing online, I don't know if you've seen this, where people are giving tips to flight attendants. They're bringing gifts on the aircraft, chocolates. So I don't know if I go on an airplane, am I supposed to bring something so I don't look like an ingrate for the flight attendants? It's gotten so weird. When is the appropriate time and when it's not? And I think that...
Look,
I'm sorry.
I was about to let you finish, but if that's what you were done saying, I'll say this. It makes you uncomfortable. Well, just get with the times then. I mean, what are you going to do? Just tip everybody then. Tip the person who...
But don't you think that almost looks desperate? I'm going to tip a flight attendant? Like, it gets really weird that now everywhere I go, I have to worry about offending someone if I don't tip them. It just puts you constantly on guard.
Well, maybe.
And by the way, you know what's ironic? I'm not expecting anybody to tip me. I would appreciate a tip, but I never get one.
Well, maybe you should take off the cape, because maybe that's a you problem. Maybe you feel like you're the hero. Maybe you feel like because you may have been successful in life that you should be tipping more. Maybe you should have this unapologetic approach to every situation. Maybe you shouldn't feel any pain when you see that, hey, tip, and you don't decide to tip. Maybe you should just not care. Maybe that'll help you out. Because
I think the other problem about this culture is that now waitresses and waiters are even posting, well, why'd they tip me this little? It's like, well, to get tipped is still a big deal.
They're using public humiliation and shame. That's right. But that's
to me, I think it's still an honor to tip someone, to be tipped, like for a waitress and waiter. I think it's it means you did a good job, and then they complain about it. Like, that's entitlement right there.
Look, according to Pew Research, and I love my polls, Mert, 21% of U.S. adults say tipping is more of a choice. 21%. 29% say it's an obligation, while 49% says it all depends. So people are really confused about this tipping scenario. So luckily, I'm not alone. Now, younger people are likelier than older people to see tipping as an obligation. So maybe it's also a generational thing, too. Some 38% of adults under 30 say it's more of an obligation compared with a smaller share of older Americans. So the sense of tipping not only rises with income, but it also rises with age and education. Isn't that interesting?
Well, I wish you would have responded to what I said, but, Alex jumped in. But what you just read is a response basically to what I was saying, where maybe people should stop caring about tipping. Maybe if you don't feel that you have to be the hero and actually tip, maybe if you take that approach, it wouldn't be an issue. And people would realize, hey, these people aren't going to tip unless I do a good job. Maybe that would change the mentality, because from what I'm hearing from you, you feel kind of guilty if you don't tip. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. Yeah, that's a little bit of that. Because look, Mert, I don't mean to sound cocky or anything like that, but what is an extra $1 for me? I mean, if I can help somebody with an extra $1, why not? But the point is, I don't want to feel this sense of obligation or embarrassed into doing it.
And that's the point I was trying to get you to realize. Maybe you should take the cape off and not put so much pressure on yourself to give the extra money if you don't feel like the service was adequate. And that's a very tough thing to do because you're a good person. But if you can convince yourself or, work it in your mind, I cannot be a prisoner to this ungrateful waitress. in a lot of people's mind.
Well, I'm not. That was a different scenario that I shared with you. That wasn't my experience. But the point is, if you know what, if the dollar means more to someone else than it means to me, why can't I help them out?
Because
there's nothing wrong with that.
You also have a responsibility to uphold the standards of society as somebody who's doing well. So if you cave in to nonsense, then you are a part of the problem. That's like if somebody disrespects you. They give you food that's cold. They don't bring you your stuff on time.
Oh, that's happened. That's happened, and they still expect a tip, too, on top of it. But,
right.
But my view on that, even when the service has been subpar, you know what? People have rent to pay. They have bills to pay. They have children. They have support obligations, whatever, loans. They need the money.
And this is where...
If it's an off day, I can forgive them for that off day. You know what I mean? And I don't have to be retaliatory by hitting them in the wallet. But this whole tipping culture is problematic. And maybe we should pay people more, ensure that wages are fair and adequate, and not reliable on the charity or the whims of strangers. I think that would be fairer, don't you think?
Right. Yeah, I brought that up earlier, but I'll say this. It's not okay for your server to have an off day because let's say you have a peanut allergy. You have a peanut allergy. Listen, you have a peanut allergy or something like that, and all of a sudden somebody has a reaction and almost dies just because you had an off day and you forgot. See, we can't devalue how important the foundation of society is. Eating is the main foundation of everything. If we can't eat, everything else is going to suffer. So the people who are in charge of making sure that experience goes off without a hitch, they can't afford to have an off day. Just like if you go into the courtroom and you're having an off day, that person ain't going to look like you. Hey, Lucas had an off day. They expect you to be at the top of your performance. Everybody should be expected to perform to the top of their abilities or call out or go get the job you think you deserve. But don't treat a job you feel like is beneath you like it doesn't matter. I don't agree with that.
Well, you know what? Fox News etiquette expert Nick Layton chimed in on that scenario that we were talking about earlier with that 10% tip and the couple who left a 10% tip. And his view was as follows for the listeners out there. Public shaming violates service etiquette. So the waitress should never have publicly shamed the couple. That's what his view was. And the diners, he said, didn't need to retaliate. Why did they tape the tip back? He didn't think that was an appropriate move either. And he said, what was the correct protocol? When service issues are egregious, you call the manager. In other words, you don't do a tit for tat. You get management involved. And you don't weaponize tips, and servers shouldn't politicize them. And I think that there's something to say about that because it's a two-way relationship. And in this case that we just shared with you, the equilibrium was clearly off. Well,
listen.
Yeah, we have to wrap it up. So we got a final thought. Go, Mert. Last thought's yours.
Listen, I'm going to say this. If management is in alignment with the employees, then talking to management is not going to do you any good.
Well, at least you're not being retaliatory by taking away money that someone can use. Even a 10% tip can make a difference. It could make a difference in someone's life, but it could. Or you never know how the hardships someone's experiencing, whether it's mortgage, debt obligations, health, medical bills. You don't want to begrudge someone money that can help make a difference.
We live in America. What happened to it's capitalism? Listen. You got to do a good job to get extra. You got to be smarter to get ahead. You can't just subsidize somebody because they're a waitress. You have to make them understand the importance of being a great employee because maybe that will help them get out of this situation. Feeling sorry for people only works to a certain extent. If you're reinforcing bad behavior, that's going to do them harm in the long run. So my stance is we need to get away from that. You need to perform for your tips.
Amen. We have to take a break. Believe it or not, this is the end of our first hour. And after the news, we're going to be hearing from our second guest, who will actually be our first guest. It's an economist and a CEO of Hard Asset Management. We look forward to speaking to Christian Briggs. He's going to be talking about precious metals and rare coins. So it's imperative you come back after the news at the top of the hour, suffer through a few commercial messages. Mert, Alex, and I, along with the rest of the AM 970 team, will be waiting right here for you. We know you want it. We know you do. So come back, shake it off with us for hour 2. Christian Briggs joins us after commercial, and when we return, expect the conversation to sharpen, the ideas to deepen, and learn about protecting wealth in uncertain times like now.
The preceding hour of programming sponsored by Shake It Off Live, LLC.
Life can be messy, but you don't have to figure it out alone.
Hey, it's the Luskos.
Join pastors and best-selling authors Levi and Jenny Lusko on Hey, It's the Luskos for honest conversations about faith, marriage, family, grief, ministry, and all the unexpected moments in between. You'll laugh, you'll be encouraged, and you'll be reminded that God is faithful through every season.
It will always come back to Jesus in the end.
That's right. Tune into Hey, It's the Luskos with Levi and Jenny Lusko. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.